When the Beatles broke up, a lot of the talk was that, like, I was the villain.
Paul McCartney just named 7 musicians he hates, and the news reverberated through every corner of the music world, sending shockwaves across generations of fans and colleagues alike. The announcement came during a candid sit-down interview, when the former Beatle, known as much for his boundless charm as for his storied career, dropped a bombshell by openly admitting to intense personal animosity toward a select group of his peers. In a milieu where tributes and admiration often dominate the discourse, his decision to highlight outright disdain was as unexpected as it was jarring. This was not a passing critique of artistic choices or a fleeting jab at a rival's style. Rather, it was a raw and unfiltered outpouring of contempt, delivered by one of the most iconic figures in modern music history. The revelation of who he singled out and the rationale behind his sentiments illuminated long-standing tensions simmering beneath the surface of collaborative culture and rock and roll mythology. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The first name on his list was that of a guitarist whose angular riffs and avant-garde sensibilities had both fascinated and frustrated countless listeners over the decades. McCartney recounted the precision of those riffs, accusing the musician of prioritizing technique over emotional resonance. To McCartney, music exists in the space between heartbeats, a living organism that breathes through melody and harmony. He saw the guitarist's approach as cold, clinical, and ultimately devoid of soul. This critique struck at the heart of a broader debate about artistry in rock music. Is virtuosity a virtue if it lacks warmth? Does technical brilliance compensate for emotional sterility? By selecting such a polarizing figure, McCartney reignited conversations about the balance between intellect and instinct in musical creation. Next came a singer-songwriter whose introspective lyrics and haunting voice have inspired legions of imitators. McCartney confessed that he found this artist's penchant for self-obsession tedious, arguing that art should transcend the artist's own turmoil rather than wallow in it. In his mind, the greatest songs resonate because they speak to universal truths, not because they dwell endlessly on personal anguish. This view tapped into an ongoing discourse about vulnerability versus exhibitionism on stage. While many contemporary icons have built careers on baring their souls in excruciating detail, McCartney championed the idea that restraint can be equally powerful. By calling out someone whose fame rests on emotional transparency, he challenged prevailing norms about authenticity in songwriting. The third target of his ire was a legendary drummer renowned for his thunderous power and innovative rhythms. McCartney's beef with this percussionist stemmed from an incident in the 1980s, a backstage altercation that has become the stuff of rock folklore. Though time had blurred specific details, McCartney's resentment had never waned. He accused the drummer of harboring vindictive impulses beneath a facade of genial camaraderie. This accusation peeled back the veneer of band member solidarity, reminding fans that egos clash even among the biggest names. It also raised questions about the mythologizing of rock relationships. How much of what we consider legendary loyalty is simply public performance? Then there was the electronic music pioneer who revolutionized soundscapes with synthesizers and drum machines. McCartney admitted he considered the artist's cold, mechanized aesthetic antithetical to the warmth he prized in songwriting and live performance. He argued that reliance on technology risked diluting the human essence of music, turning sound into mere data points instead of emotional signals. This critique tapped into a generation-long debate over digital production versus analog authenticity. While younger artists hailed the precision and possibilities of electronic tools, McCartney's stance underlined a nostalgia for tactile instruments and the unpredictable alchemy of live interplay. His statement underscored the cultural rift between analog purists and digital innovators, a divide that has shaped popular music's evolution for half a century. A folk singer known for political protest songs was another casualty of McCartney's confessional list. Despite sharing a common interest in using music as a vehicle for change, McCartney accused the singer of sacrificing artistry at the altar of activism. He claimed that the protest singer's lyrics often lack nuance, reducing complex social issues to simplistic slogans. McCartney's critique illuminated the delicate balance between message and melody, reminding the industry that substance alone does not guarantee lasting musical impact. This critique resonated at a time when artists across genres grapple with their roles as cultural commentators. It also suggested that McCartney believed political engagement should be woven into compelling narratives rather than delivered as blunt instruments. The penultimate figure was a contemporary pop icon whose chart-topping anthems have dominated airwaves for years. McCartney condemned the artist for an apparent formulaic approach, suggesting that every song feels engineered for maximum streaming potential rather than genuine creative impulse. This condemnation struck at the heart of debates around streaming culture and playlist algorithms. In an era where data analytics can shape artistic decisions, McCartney's critique enforced the notion that music, at its best, emerges from intuition and spontaneity. By targeting a current superstar, he highlighted the potential conflict between artistry and commerce, questioning whether the modern music industry's structures encourage creativity or constrain it. The immediate reaction among music critics was a mix of disbelief and exhilaration. Many hailed McCartney's list as a refreshing break from the usual adulation heaped on fellow musicians. In a landscape where artists seldom publicly criticize one another to this degree, McCartney's openness was a curveball that reignited lively discourse. Yet some questioned the necessity of naming names, arguing that airing such grudges in public risked overshadowing the creative contributions of the targeted artists. This tension highlighted the enduring fascination with celebrity conflict and the complex ethics of speaking ill of peers. When a figure of McCartney's stature voices contempt, the act transcends personal grievance and becomes a cultural event, prompting collective reflection on the nature of criticism itself. Beyond critical reception, the implications for McCartney's own legacy were profound. He has spent decades cultivating an image of affability and musical generosity. This reveal introduced a new, more contentious dimension to his persona. It suggested that even icons are not immune to jealousy and resentment, and that long-standing fame does not inoculate one against the pettiness of rivalry. For scholars of music history, this moment offered fresh material for understanding the psychology of creative titans. The notion that greatness can coexist with animosity challenges simplistic narratives of artistic harmony. It also raises questions about how icons manage personal relationships against the backdrop of global fame. Industry insiders speculated on whether this episode might cool future collaborations or spark reconciliations aimed at healing old wounds. Though McCartney explicitly asked for no immediate aftermaths, the bare fact of this public rupture could influence decisions about duets, tribute concerts, and joint appearances. Artists and managers traditionally tread carefully when navigating such revelations, aware that public perception can pivot rapidly. In this sense, McCartney's naming of these 7 individuals was more than a momentary flash of honesty. It was a strategic inflection point in a career that has thrived on adaptability and reinvention. At the same time, fans of the 7 named musicians rallied to their defense, while some new listeners found themselves curious to explore the criticized artists' catalogs. This counterintuitive boost in visibility underscored the unpredictable ways in which negative attention can fuel interest. Music consumption is fueled by narrative as much as by melody, and a story of conflict invites deeper engagement. McCartney's comments thus wielded the power to shape listening habits, not only by diminishing some reputations but by inadvertently promoting the very work he criticized. This dynamic exemplifies the paradox of notoriety in modern entertainment. Disdain can be as effective as praise in driving attention. The broader cultural implications extend into how society perceives criticism among peers. In an era marked by public call-outs and social media firestorms, McCartney's approach stood out for its frankness and its context of long-standing personal history rather than opportunistic scandal. His critiques were not aimed at fleeting social trends, but rooted in decades of observation and experience. This depth lent his statements a certain gravitas, distinguishing them from the clickbait controversies that dominate online discourse. It invited a reconsideration of what constitutes constructive criticism in creative communities, and how personal authenticity intersects with public persona. This event also prompted reflection on the role of legacy artists in shaping the industry's future direction. McCartney, at 82 and still active, represents a living bridge to rock's golden age. His willingness to voice disapproval signaled that veteran voices continue to matter, not merely as nostalgic echoes, but as active participants in cultural debates. As younger artists forge new genres and blend influences in unprecedented ways, McCartney's stance reminded the industry that foundational values, warmth, melody, emotional honesty, still resonate. His critique functioned as both a cautionary tale and a rallying cry for those who share his vision of music as a communal, heartfelt experience. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Paul McCartney revealing musicians he hates? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.